watching hockey with her daddy on Saturday nights. He taught her how to tire skates. Her brothers taught her how to fight. She can wear high heels or flannel. She can look sexy in a tube. She likes snowstorms and Gordon Lightfoot. And if you're lucky, she'll love you. Canadian girls, Canadian girls, irresistible, lovable.
Hello!
Sometimes girls.
So good to be here. Canada, we are at a crucial time where we must decide whether we are going to elect for a fourth time the same Liberal team that has left us with a weakened economy, rising crime, unaffordable housing, and vulnerable in the face of the threats of Donald Trump, or are we going to elect a conservative government who's going to put Canada first for a change? This journey began for my husband and my family about 3 years ago when Pierre decided to run for the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Ever since, he has been traveling from coast to coast to coast so that he can step away from the Ottawa bubble and to hear Canadians directly. Because what we need is a leader and a government for the people and by the people. And you know, my husband has spent most of his life right here at home fighting for our youth, our families, and our seniors. Mr. Carney, he is on one hand seeking public office, and on the other hand looking down on those who have been right here at home fighting for us. Well, I am proud of my husband, and it is an honorable thing to do to be right here at home fighting for our people. And when Mr. Carney says that my husband doesn't know how the world works, well, I'll tell you what. He knows how Canada works and how to make it work for all of us, the working class, not the tax dodgers. Now, I, of course, love of my husband's policies. I truly, really feel that will help all of us. But to understand why we're doing this, you need to know the man and the family behind all of those policies. My husband was born from a teenage mother who gave him out for adoption to two school teachers from Saskatchewan. He grew up in Calgary in a very humble house where his family was working really hard and living paycheck to paycheck. Pierre has worked for everything in this life and nothing was handed to him. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and my family migrated here in Canada in 1995 when I was 8 years old. We lived in a working class neighborhood in the east end of Montreal. There were 6 of us in a very small basement apartment. My father's first job was to pick up fruit and vegetables because that's all he could do. Later on, he had 3 minimum wage jobs all at once so that he could feed our family. By the time that I was 17, I had left home and become 100% financially independent. When I turned 19, I left Montreal and moved to Ottawa. I took a student loan so I can put myself through university, and I worked full-time at the same time so that I can pay rent and food. And by the time that I was 25 years old, a few months before I met Pierre, still a single woman, I had saved enough money, $25,000, to put a down payment on a little 2-bedroom townhouse in the east end of Ottawa. It cost me $230,000, that little townhouse. That was in 2012, 3 years before the Liberal government took office. That is what we're fighting for the Canadian promise that if you work hard, you get ahead and you can make it in this country. This is who we are, the Poilievres, working really hard and restoring the Canadian promise. That is why it is my pleasure to stand by my husband's side and to share him with all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, our next Prime Minister, my husband, Pierre Poilievre.
Something tender about it. There's something hidden about it. There's something all generations can have and can hold. We break down the walls and break out of the mold. Yeah, we fight for what's right. We're wild and we're free from the mountains above us. And all you can see is more than just a place where freedom rolls. It's our It's our There's something nostalgic about it. There's something brand new about it. Yeah, you'll leave and you'll miss it, then come back and kiss it. You'll travel the distance, we're so proud of it. We fight for what's right, we're wild and we're free from the mountains above us. And all you can see is more than just a place where freedom rolls. It's all
Who's ready to vote for change? Who's ready to build some homes you can afford? Who's going to vote to stop the crime for a change? And who's going to vote for your former police chief and top crime fighter, Hugh Stevenson, for a change? Who's ready to put Canada first for a change? Look at that crowd up there. Amazing. It's been a long time since we've had crowds like this in Canada. But you know what I think it is? You're worth it. I think, thank you. I love you. But I think it's bigger than me. It's about much more than me. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about giving you back control of your lives. I think that the reason why we've attracted these record-breaking crowds is people have hope again. People have hope. The young people have hope. That yes, the young people like that young person over there have hope. That soon they'll be able to afford a home and start a family and have kids and give their parents some grandkids. Families have hope that their streets are going to be safe again for a change, that they'll be able to have their kids out playing street hockey without fear, or go to bed not worried that their car is going to be missing in the morning. I think that our working people, our waitresses and welders have hope again, that they will be able to afford good, decent food, that their fridge and their bank account will be full at the same time. People have hope that change is coming to Canada. And one of the things that's giving them all that hope is the amazing team of Canada First candidates that we are putting together to bring change to Canada, starting with your former police chief and future Member of Parliament, Hugh Stevenson. Where's Hugh? Where is he? There he is. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for serving our country and this community for 3 decades. Incredible. A man who was known for standing behind the police. The frontline officers loved him for his loyalty and his support of the community. Someone who always reached out to the less advantaged and always fought hard for the law-abiding people of this country. And he's stepping up because he believes we need a change in this country. You know, we need a big change. By the way, Hugh is promising that if any of you have jaywalking tickets, if you came to the rally tonight, it's all forgiven, okay? That's a joke, and now I've got myself in trouble with the media. But, you know, I was in the Sault about... Microphone again. All right. All right. It's a Liberal microphone. It doesn't always work. Still, I've never met a mic I didn't like. Anyway, so we went to this diner. We had a lunch, and it was a really nice place. And after we left, we jumped in the minivan, and we were driving off to our next engagement. And the back door of the restaurant swung open. And out came a waitress. She ran right into the street where we had just turned onto the street to leave, and she was jumping up and down and waving. Apparently, she had missed us when we were there, but then heard in the back of the kitchen that I had been there. And she ran out, and I thought, oh, did we forget to pay the bill or something? Are we in trouble? So we pulled the minivan over the side of the road. I jumped out, and I said, how can I help you? And she walked up, and she said, fix it. That's it. Just fix it. And she didn't even need to tell me what it was, because everybody knows what it is, right? It's all of it. It's all of it. It's the whole mess. The whole mess. The whole mess. A waitress 10 years ago could afford to buy a home with her husband and start a family. Now, that's impossible. We have the most expensive real estate in the world. It's doubled under the lost Liberal decade. Crime and chaos reign in our once safe streets as repeat violent offenders are everywhere and released within seconds of their latest arrest. Food prices have risen 37% faster in Canada than in the United States during the last 5 years because of carbon taxes Liberals imposed and are temporarily hiding that drove up the cost for the farmers and truckers who bring us our food. The things that we need to fix, it's everything. But we know that we will not fix it by rehiring for a fourth time the same Liberals who broke it in the first place. And we sure won't fix it with someone who won't pay his taxes. Yep. Today, this is breaking news. Mark Carney was asked point blank if, as Prime Minister of Canada, he would condemn tax havens, international tax havens in the Caribbean, where multinational corporations stash their cash to avoid paying what they owe. Now, for the first time in the history of Canada, a Prime Minister was unwilling to condemn these international tax havens for multinationals and billionaires. Just today, he dodged the question just like he dodged his taxes. And you know why? Because he's in a conflict of interest. He has billions of dollars of his company assets stashed away in Bermuda in a post office box above a bicycle shop. You know, he didn't put the money there because it's nice weather in Bermuda. He put it there because Bermuda is known as the most flagrant tax haven anywhere on earth. And his company has been called Canada's biggest tax dodger. Now, that would be a terrible thing for him to have in his past, but it's not the past. It's the present. He continues to have millions of dollars invested in this company, which is hiding its money away from paying taxes. So let's get this straight. While the police officers here in the Sault or that waitress who's struggling to feed her kids, or the small businesses that are hanging on by a thread, are forced to pay high Liberal taxes, Mark Carney, our Prime Minister, is still invested in tax havens that dodge his bill. My friends, that is not putting Canada first. That is not the change we need. We need a new Conservative government that will put our taxpayers first for a change. Aujourd'hui, M. Carney a refusé de répondre à une question s'il condamnait les paradis fiscaux. C'est la première fois dans l'histoire du Canada qu'un premier ministre a refusé de condamner des paradis fiscaux. Et pourquoi? Parce qu'il a des millions de dollars de conflits d'intérêts dans une entreprise qui cache ses actifs aux Bermudes, dans une boîte postale sur un magasin de vélos. Donc, lorsque la serveuse ou le policier, le barbier, le plombier doivent payer leurs taxes et les impôts libéraux, aujourd'hui, M. Carney, notre Premier ministre, ne paie pas son juste part. Ce n'est pas ça, mettre le Canada d'abord. Nous avons besoin d'un Premier ministre qui va défendre nos contribuables, notre monde et notre pays. Donc, le choix dans ces élections, après les décennies perdues des libéraux, où les prix ont augmenté et l'économie est en baisse sur la dépendance des Américains. Est-ce qu'on veut leur donner un quatrième mandat ou est-ce qu'il faut que ça change avec un nouveau gouvernement conservateur qui va couper taxes et impôts, bâtir des logements abordables, exploiter nos ressources et ramener nos emplois pour pouvoir confronter les Américains avec la force pour un changement? C'est ça ce qu'il faut faire. My friends, the choice in this election, after the lost Liberal decade of rising prices and rising crime and an economy falling under the dependence of the Americans, do we want to give them a fourth? After a decade of rising costs and crime and a falling economy under America's thumb, do we want to give the Liberals a fourth term? Is it time for a new Conservative government that will put Canada first for a change? Let's just quickly review the problem. Today in Canada, inflation is back on the rise. Inflation, having hit 40-year highs, is now up again. Canada has the worst housing prices, the slowest building permits. Our economy is smaller than it was 10 years ago on a per capita basis. In fact, it's the worst economic growth of any country in the G7 by far. $500 billion of investment has left our country as Liberals raise taxes and block our resource projects, making us more vulnerable and dependent than ever before. It's really no wonder why Donald Trump says he wants the Liberals in power for a fourth term. He wants to keep Canada weak so that he can exploit that weakness. Well, I've got news for President Trump. You don't get to choose our next Prime Minister. Canadians do, and they're going to vote for a change. And it's not going to solve the problem to elect the same Liberal MPs, Liberal ministers, the same Liberal strategists with the same Liberal policies to get the same Liberal results. What we need is to bring a real change to this country, and that is what we are going to do. We need strong leadership from people who have put our country first and who have a real economic plan to do it. And so tonight I'm going to tell you about that plan. It's a plan to bring home our economic strength for a change. It starts with you bringing home more of your paycheck. You agree with that? For a change. Anybody here paying too little income tax right now? None of you guys have your money. That's right. Mr. Carney is. That's true. Any of you got a post office box with your money saved up in a Bermuda post office somewhere? No. No one here like that. No, here in this room, I see hardworking people. Do we have any waitresses? Any welders? Any tradespeople? Yeah. Small business owners? Soldiers? Sailors? Air Force members? You're a soldier? But we got a veteran over here. All these hardworking people, thank you very much for your service. Give them a big round of applause. But all of you are paying a fine for the crime of hard work. It's called income tax. You earn more, you pay more. We punish hard work in this country with among the highest taxes in the world. In fact, Canadians today pay more in income tax and other taxes than they spend on food, clothing, and shelter combined. Income taxes, sales taxes, carbon taxes, gas taxes, business taxes, property taxes, the list goes on, a tax on a tax on a tax on a tax. And if that's not enough to drive you to drink, well, they're taxing your liquor and your booze too. So we're going to make work pay again. A Canada First Conservative government will cut income tax for the average senior and worker by 15%. So you keep your money for a change. And we're going to reward those who create jobs and save jobs for our Canadian auto workers. We will axe the sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles. And then there's the carbon tax. This is an area where the Liberals have really tried to pull a fast one. By the way, look at that beautiful sign back there, that beautiful axe the tax. Isn't that great? Way to go. I think he's a lumberjack. We've got a lumberjack over there. So when we do the axing of the taxes, we're going to bring this guy to Parliament Hill to help us. So the Liberals brought in the carbon tax for the last 7 years. 7 years, and they put the law, it's still in place, that allows them to raise the tax up to 61 cents a litre in their next term in office. Now, 28 days before the election, they hide the tax from the pumps in the hopes that they will fool Canadians into electing them a fourth time, after which they'll simply put the tax back on, this time with no rebate at all, and make it higher than ever before. Mark Carney said his only disagreement with Trudeau's carbon tax is that it was not high enough. He says that he wants the tax to go higher on Canadian steel. What would that mean? He actually said that Canadians don't use steel anymore, so you won't have to pay his tax. This building would actually come crashing down if there were no steel. Anybody here work for Algoma? Right on, our Algoma steelworkers. I'll tell you something, if this Liberal industrial carbon tax is allowed to go ahead, there will be no Algoma, there will be no Stelco, there will be no DeFasco, there will be no Gordeau. The Canadian steel-making companies simply will not be able to compete with American and Chinese steelmakers who have no carbon tax at all. Both Trump and Carney want to tax Canadian steel, one with tariffs and the other with carbon taxes. I want neither. My plan is to axe the tax for everything, for everyone, for good, for real, forever, for a change. Axe the tax. We're going to be axing a lot of taxes. We're also going to axe the inflation tax. Now, we know what the inflation tax is. It's when government prints money in order to pay for out-of-control spending. Now, it's a tax because you still pay for it, and it's meant to give government dollars to spend. And here's how it operates. Instead of holding a vote in the House of Commons to raise the HST or GST, what they do is they just run these enormous deficits and have the central bank create more cash. Now that sounds like a lot of fun. You know, if you're running out of money, why not just make more? Here's the problem with that. Every single time it's been done over roughly 4,000 years of economic history, it's had exactly the same result. More money bidding on the same or fewer goods always equals higher prices. If you have an economy with, say, $10 and 10 apples, well, in that economy, it'll be $1 an apple. If you double the number of dollars to 20, but you still have only 10 apples, well, you're not twice as rich. It's just each apple now costs twice as much. And the people who get that extra printed money, well, they're better off. Well, who are they? Not you. The people who get the money are the senior bureaucracy and the top connected people in the financial system. Brookfield's CEO, this is Carney's company, bragged that inflation was actually good for their company. It meant that they could charge more rent on their apartments. It meant their assets inflated in value. At the same time, as all of you see the purchasing power of your paycheck and pension evaporate. That is the inflation tax. It is only the symptom. The disease is over government spending. Government spending has almost doubled in the last 10 years of the Liberal government. They have doubled the national debt, adding more debt than all prior governments combined. And most of this debt was added while Mark Carney was acting as Justin Trudeau's economic advisor, since which time Carney has made literally billions of dollars of additional spending promises that he intends to stack on top of what Trudeau already did. I will do the opposite. We will cut back on bureaucracy, consultants, handouts to corporate insiders, and foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies to bring down the cost of government and axe the inflation tax for real. For a change. Thank you. I love you too. Thank you very much. Who's this young lady over here? Georgia. Excellent. Are you old enough to vote? Oh, that's too bad. You can't. Well, it's too, you can't get her an ID or anything, eh, Chief? No, I guess. Sorry. Again, I'm going to get more trouble with the media for suggesting these things. But you know what? We're all voting for your future, Georgia. Thank you. God love you. We're proud of you. We want Georgia to be able to afford a place to live, don't we? A nice house on a safe street. We used to take that for granted in Canada. People would be able to buy a house by the time they were in their mid-20s. My wife told, I don't know if she told the story tonight, she was in her mid-20s and she was able to get a nice little place, a townhouse in Ottawa. That was back about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, 2012. Not long ago, this was something we all took for granted. But housing costs have doubled over the last Liberal decade. And we know that we cannot trust the Liberals to reverse the damage they have done. Now, why is housing so expensive today? Well, it's because of government. We have the second slowest building permits in the OECD. It takes 3 times as long to get that permit in Canada as it does to get it in the UK and in the US. As much as 60% of the cost of a new home in Canada today is government costs. Taxes, red tape, lawyers, accountants, consultants, lobbyists, and others. Right now, more money from a new home goes to bureaucrats in office buildings than goes to the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who actually build the homes. I learned this tragic injustice when I was in the Sault about 1.5 years ago. I was at a Tim Hortons, and a young guy about 30 years old came and sat down in front of me, and he told me that he was living in his car. He was a carpenter with a job. My friends, when the people who build our homes cannot afford to live in them, we have a fundamentally unjust economy, and that must change. And it will change, because we have a common sense plan to bring that change, starting with axing the federal sales tax on new homes to save you up to $65,000. We will incentivize municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development taxes to build 15% more homes per year. We'll sell off 6,000 federal buildings and thousands of acres of federal land to build, build, build. And we will train up 350,000 young building trades workers, the carpenters, electricians, and plumbers who will build the homes. Boots, not suits. We're going to give back the $4,000 apprenticeship grant to help our young people with the cost of getting started on an apprenticeship. Is that a proud mother over there? I saw you give a fist bump. You hire, are you a small business owner? What do you do? Decks. Anybody need a deck? Your husband does. He builds decks. All right, there he is. Give him a round of applause. I've got an apprenticeship myself right now. I'm apprenticing to be a cabinet maker, but it's okay. It was a dad joke. It was not that bad. Come on, come on. I'm here all night, folks. But you're right. You need more apprentices. You need more skilled trades, right? So I'll tell you what else we're going to do. We're going to bring tax fairness. Because right now a CEO can write off the full cost of his private jet, but a tradesman can only write off $4,000 for the whole year. Some of these guys do 20 trips a year to go from the Sault to Timmins to a gold mine. They might then go off to Fort Mac or out east to the offshore. That costs tens of thousands of dollars. We're going to pass the Tax Fairness for Traveling Trades Workers Act so that you can write off the full cost of food, transportation, and accommodation and bring home a paycheck. And I'm going to be giving a big, beautiful present to every high school principal. It's going to be a box about the size of this stage, and in it is going to be a module for every licensed trade on how they can start our 14 and 15-year-olds off doing pre-apprenticeships and even getting some of their Red Seal apprenticeship hours before they graduate from school. We're also going to make sure that our armed forces is providing the trades in the forces with the same kinds of materials so that they can knock off hours, and when they decide to retire from their job defending the country, they can quickly get Red Seal licenses to go on building the country. That's how we're going to get the boots and not suits. And we are going to build these incredible homes across this country and restore the dream of home ownership. We cannot afford another 4 years of the Liberals hiking housing costs. We need a change so that our young people can have homes to raise families in. And we're going to bring home our resource jobs again for a change, aren't we? For the last 10 years, anti-development laws passed by the Liberals have shut out our energy sector, made us more reliant on the Americans than ever before, favored foreign producers of fossil fuels. They have no problem with Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, the United States and others producing more and more energy. Meanwhile, they shut down our workers here in Canada. When I'm Prime Minister, that will end. We will repeal the Liberal No Development Law C-69. We will get rid of the energy cap to unleash massive production increases of oil and gas and countless other minerals. We will get rid of the industrial carbon tax. We will also bring in shovel-ready zones, areas that are pre-permitted for production. We will draw a big line, a big circle on a map, and say everything in this or that zone is pre-authorized for mines, pipelines, data centers, power stations, nuclear plants, LNG liquefaction terminals, and more. We'll do all the environmental studies up front, get the bureaucracy settled and out of the way, and then look over at our investors and our workers and say, this site is pre-approved, there's no more waiting, no more paperwork, put the shovel in the ground and let's get building this country. We're going to build Canadian pipelines with Canadian steel to deliver Canadian energy to Canadian customers and to the world. We'll go around the Americans and bring our jobs back to our people, building an economic fortress that can stand up to anyone. We'll cut red tape in the federal government by 25%. So that our small businesses spend more time hiring workers and serving customers and less time filling out paperwork for politicians and bureaucrats. And we want those small businesses to be able to reinvest and bring home their investment dollars to this country. And that is why I have announced the Canada First Reinvestment Tax Cut. Zero capital gains tax when you reinvest the money here in Canada. Thank you. Well, we have a very energetic young man over there jumping up and down. Who's this guy over here? What's your name? Emerson. How old is Emerson? 9 years old. He's already active in politics. And why did you decide to come out today, Emerson? What's that? Oh, that's very nice. I'm here for you, Emerson, so I guess we came for the same reason. Look at these incredible kids, eh? Isn't it amazing to see our young people out at these events? Thank you, Emerson. Give it up for Emerson, a great Canadian patriot. Emerson deserves to live in a safe neighborhood. He deserves to be able to go out and play street hockey with his friends without the risk that he will be harmed by the growing crime wave that Liberals have unleashed over the last decade. Liberal law C-75 requires judges release even the most violent repeat offenders, and I'm quoting from the law, at the earliest possible time, under the least stringent conditions. And so the same offenders are often released hundreds of times. I'll give you an example. In Vancouver, they had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. That means each one of them was arrested 150 times in a year. That's once every 2 days, all year long. There's one criminal in Penticton, BC. His name is Levi. The police tell me, you'll get a kick out of this, Hugh, when Levi is out of prison, the crime rate for the entire town of Penticton goes up. Because this one guy does that much. Yours' name is Scott? Well, but you know Scott? But the problem is that there's like millions of Scots, and now everyone's going to be looking at them strangely. Oh my God, we've got all the Scots of the world in trouble now. Listen, for the record, most Scots are great guys, really nice guys. There's one guy who's not so nice. Who thinks that it's time that we put the bad Scot and the bad Levi behind bars and leave them there? Oh my goodness. So then there's C5. There's C5. You're a nice Scot. We've got a nice Scot over there. It's not him. It's not him, right? It's not him. Okay, it's a different Scot. So then there's C5. This is the house arrest law. Very simple law. You get to do your sentence at home, in your living room. So you're a career car thief, and you sit in your living room, and you're watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto while you serve your sentence. So you walk out the front door and reoffend all over again. And then there's the most outrageous law, liberal law of all, C-83. which allows Paul Bernardo out of a maximum penitentiary into a medium security penitentiary. My friends, as Prime Minister, and with the help of your great future Member of Parliament and former police chief, we will stop the crime for a change, because we cannot afford the risk of a fourth Liberal term. I will repeal the catch and release C-75. We will repeal house arrest C-5. We will repeal the Paul Bernardo get out of jail free card C-83, and we will pass a new law that says that any repeat offender will be ineligible for bail, probation, parole, or house arrest. It will be jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. We will stop the crime for a change, because we can't risk a fourth Liberal term of crime and chaos. And then there's the drugs. Do you have a drug problem in the Sault? Everybody knows somebody. Everybody knows someone. Everybody knows somebody. It is a tragic story. I hear it everywhere I go. The other day I got a letter from a man who said that he told me the touching story of how he held his wife's hand when she gave birth to their baby boy. And then 25 years later, he held her hand again as she collapsed on the ground next to their doorway after a visit from a police officer reporting the news that their son had died of an overdose on the street. 50,000 Canadians have died of drug overdoses in the last decade, more than died fighting for Canada in World War II. We know that this is the result of a radical liberalization of drugs. The government has effectively stopped enforcing drug offenses. They got rid of mandatory jail time for the traffickers. Crack, heroin, cocaine, fentanyl possession are basically not even prosecuted anymore. Worse, the government has been giving out opioids, taxpayer-funded opioids. They call it harm reduction. In reality, it's harm production. Those hydromorphone pills get resold to children, who then climb up the addiction ladder to fentanyl. And the profits of all this tax-funded drug use end up paying for the most poisonous drugs of all. Finally, there's no treatment available. Those people desperate to get away from a life of drugs have nowhere to turn, and so they often give up hope altogether. My friends, it doesn't have to be this way. We have a hopeful plan for change. We're going to stop the murderers who are spreading the fentanyl on our streets. Anybody who's caught trafficking 40 milligrams or more will have a life sentence under a Conservative government. Second, we will stop giving out taxpayer-funded opioids. And we will end the madness. And instead, we will sue the pharmaceutical companies that caused the drug overdose crisis in the first place. And we will invest in treatment and recovery, detox, counseling, inpatient care, to get our loved ones off drugs and turn their lives around with hope and life and family. You know, these drug treatment centers, the ones that work, they have proven that they can do the job. I visited the most incredible places and heard the most amazing stories. I was at Harvest House in Atlantic Canada, where they take young men and women off the street. Detox, counseling, group therapy, physical exercise, job training, housing. And I sat down with these men who were about a month and a half into their program. Many of them were still trembling with addiction, trying to fight off the temptation to go back. And most times when politicians go to places like that, they say, "I'm here to help you." I went with a different message. I said to all these young men, I'm asking for your help. I need you. You're still alive for a reason. There is a reason that you are still here, and it is this. You are going to get better, and then you are going to go out onto the street, and you're going to pick someone off the street, and you're going to tell them that you were there where they were, and that you have now turned your life around, and that that person is going to go pick up someone else, and we're going to keep doing that again and again and again until we end this drug crisis altogether. That's hope. That is change. And we're going to fund 50,000 drug treatment placements for our young people right across this country, and we're only going to give the money to those organizations that have a track record of success. We will pay those organizations for keeping people off drugs, pay for results, not for bureaucracy. And then there's the guns. We know that the guns that are overtaking our streets are not Canadian guns by lawful licensed hunters and sport shooters. It's the smugglers. We're going to invest in 2,000 more CBSA officers. We'll scan the shipping containers and we'll put big watchtowers along the length of our borders to interrupt the smugglers and keep the illegal drugs, guns, stolen cars, and other paraphernalia from crossing illegally. And we are going to pay for all this by canceling the wasteful, multi-billion-dollar gun grab and respect our lawful licensed firearms owners. Hugh, I have a question for you. Is Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle what's shooting up our streets?
Absolutely not.
Do you think that it's a waste of money to go after people who've gone out and got a possession and acquisition license?
Illegal guns are not the issue, right? We are, and I was talking to right there, that young lady right there. She talked about we need to protect hunters' rights. It's not illegal guns.
Agreed. The police know it. Just today, the Toronto police were saying the phony liberal gun bans are not a solution. In fact, it's just Hollywood-style performative politics. Going after the lawful people who get licenses is actually not only not helping, it's wasting police resources because it misses the target. And so, be very clear, let me be very clear with you. If the Liberals get elected, they will ban your hunting rifle. There will be no more hunting rifles allowed in this country if the Liberals are back in. But we won't let them do that. We want to protect Canadians from criminals, not turkeys from hunters. But protecting Canadians means that we need to have a strong and powerful Canadian Armed Forces again. By cutting back office bureaucracy, wasteful back office procurement boondoggles, and reducing overseas wasteful foreign aid to dictators and terrorists, we will put the money back in Canada's military. We will buy 4 new massive Arctic icebreakers to take back our northern seas. Submarines, fighter jets, Poseidons that can look down and intercept foreign countries that are doing incursions into our waters and skies. We'll double the size of the first patrol of the Arctic Rangers. And we will have the first Arctic base in Canada since the Cold War, CFB Iqaluit. Our cadets We're going to expand the cadets so that more and more of our young people can take advantage of mentorship from our soldiers and our rangers, learning riflery, survivalism, punctuality, cleanliness, and service to country, uniting them from coast to coast and giving them experiences they would not otherwise have. We want to reinstill the sense of common ground, common identity, common belief, and a common country. And that is also why we are going to uphold our history for a change. We're going to rebuild our beautiful statues. We're going to put Terry Fox, the soldiers, the famous five, back in our passport. We will repair the damage the Liberals have done to our immigration system by ending the fraud in the international student, the temporary foreign worker, and in the refugee system. We will get our population under control. I will ensure by capping immigration that never again do we allow our population to outgrow the number of homes, jobs, and health care supports that are available. And while the Liberals continue to cling on to the Radical Century Initiative, which seeks to increase our population to over 100 million people, we will reject the Century Initiative. We will stop the radical schemes. Those ideas might be great for the multinational corporations seeking to drive down wages for our workers, but they are not good for our country. We are going to put Canada first in immigration for a change. And that includes giving our brilliant immigrants who are already here the chance to make maximum contribution. The 20,000 immigrant doctors, 32,000 immigrant nurses should be allowed to take a test, prove they are qualified, get working, reducing wait times in our hospital system with a blue seal for a change. So who's ready to take back control of our future in this country, my friends, for a change? Who's ready for a paycheck that buys you a good life for a change? Who wants hope for a change? Then here's my question. Who's actually going to turn out and vote for a change? Vote for a change. You need to go and vote now. You can vote as early as tomorrow. Get your friends out. Tell them that now is the time. We are going to be a nation that harvests its resources, unites its people, protects its borders, honors its history, cares for its veterans, protects its vulnerable, and raises its flag. We are not a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, of gatekeepers and grandees, of bureaucrats and busybodies. No, we are a nation of explorers and entrepreneurs, of artists and adventurers, of workers and warriors, of pioneers and patriots. What unites us is the Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful, affordable house on a safe street protected by brave troops under a proud flag. Canada first for a change. Let's bring it home!
Something tender about